Hey Tekken players, hope you're doing well. So this video I'm going to do a very quick video specifically for King mains about how to counter Hwoarang if you're a King main. Now I have done in the past for Tekken 7, I did a really in-depth Anti Hwoarang guide, not just for King, just for anybody. And that's the video where I go into more of his stances and some of the really sort of deep and technical stuff. And a lot of it's still relevant today, so I urge you to go and watch that video if you want a more in-depth guide. I'll leave it a link below. So this one, I'm going to keep it a bit quicker, and I'm going to keep it to King, and I'm going to keep it to sort of very general sort of, tips. So let's begin. Now, the first thing to mention, this is what I discussed in that previous video, is traditionally the way Hwoarang works is sort of here he's not very scary. He has to be up close to get his pressure started. And once he gets his flamingo pressure, you've got to basically hold back and wait for him to basically do something stupid and then take your turn back. Okay, that's traditionally how it worked. However, because he had that godlike offense, his weakness was it was very hard for him to get in because of his traditional tools he used to do with stuff like this, and all of his options are really linear. Like a lot of this stuff you can just step. You see? So this is traditionally how you used to deal with him. Step, punish, take your turn, etc, etc. However, because this is Tekken 8, and obviously no character is allowed to have any flaws, heaven forbid, they gave him this move. Now, if I try to sidestep now, yeah, that's right. He can now hit you with a mid tracking plus on block heat engager, because why not? He needs it, right? So yeah, so just to mention, as you can see, he does have to do this from stance, so he does have to basically go into his right foot forward stance. So if you see them start doing this, you know what's coming, right? And basically it means that the player knows how to play Tekken 8 as opposed to Tekken 7. If they do the other stuff, then continue like we said before, just sidestep, punish, and you'll all be good. However, if they've figured this move out, which if they play the game properly, they probably know about, to be honest. But if they have, then we've got to change our tactic, because side walking aimlessly is not going to work. Now, there's two things to look out for. One is a universal one, and one is a King specific. As I mentioned, they have to do this from a stance. So if they're being really obvious, you can technically float them out of this, and you can get a combo, and that's true for anyone. So, but again, that's if they're kind of being obvious, like they're doing it straight away. So that's something just to let you know. But King has a better option. Oops, hang on. Let me just get him to reset it properly. Come on. There we go. It's always one of those things, it's actually easier to do in real life than it is to try to set it up in a video. But anyway, so long story short, it's another example of muscle armor just being really good as a keep out tool. It's basically, right, stop that now, Hwoarang. It's basically like any character that relies on kind of slow, hard-hitting mids. That's kind of what Muscle Buster's designed to deal with. Because although this is plus on block, it's still got quite slow recovery. So as you see, when I did get the timing right eventually, you can see that those were genuine punishers. So if they're playing Tekken 8 Hwoarang and they know about that and they're being obvious, that's what we've got to use to keep them at bay, right? So that's kind of point number one, and it's quite a fundamental one, because it's kind of how the Tekken 8 sort of Hwoarang works. So whether that move will change in a season 2 patch, who knows? But at the moment it's there, so kind of that's your hard counter. If they're playing Tekken 7 Hwoarang, just step, as we said before. Right, so just to kind of mention a few other approach tool sort of stuff. Another one they'll use on approach is they'll do this. Oh, hang on. Stop doing that. So another one they use is this move, right? So this is his main power crush, I'm going to talk about the different things for when I talk about approach in a moment. But key thing to see is notice this is -14. -14 adds power crush. So technically, you can punish like this. Or if you want to be smarter, we can do this. Oops. I don't know why he's hitting. There we go. We can do this. Notice that's 53 damage. Unbreakable throw. Why? Because it's power crush and they can't break it. So that's kind of a neutral field. If we go a bit further back, say we're by the wall. Oops. I should apologise. Sorry, I'm trying to do a giant swing. I've got a brand new pad and it's really stiff and I haven't... My giant swing inputs are still really shoddy at the moment. There we go. Oh, blue sparks as well. So notice that's a punish. 70 damage. So that's point number 1. If they're doing that, you've got to punish him hard for it. And King has some unique ways of doing it with his throws, okay? Now, that's if they're being a bit stupid. Smart Hwoarangs will do this kind of thing. Now, I'm not a Hwoarang main, so I couldn't really record this properly. I've tried my best, but they'll do this. They'll cancel it. You see? And what they're trying to do is they're trying to bait you into basically... They want you to attack into them. And if they see you attack, you know, basically they'll trigger the rest. So they'll kind of use this as like an approach tool to like armor. They can also do a low out of it. So probably the best option. Don't just jab because you run the risk of going into the power crush, right? So what I would suggest you do, if they start kind of spamming this in your face, just do a throw. You see? So you notice then because they tried to pull the trigger, it actually, you know, the throw connected. And worst case scenario, if you try to throw them, right, and they and it wasn't a power crush like that, then worst case they're going to break the throw. And either way, basically it sets it to neutral again, right? So that's my suggestion. If they start spamming that in your face, just throw them. Because either way, it's going to sort of like, it's going to either reset neutral or you're going to get a throw out of it. And it's much more safe. It's a lot safer than trying to jab them out of it. So that's just to let you know. And that's kind of all his like major approach tools, right? So yeah. So now we've done that. Let's talk about some of the other sort of, you know, bits and pieces. Let's talk about down. I believe I got down 3-4 as my next example. Okay, so this is down 3-4. This is one of his most important strings, right? Because it's basically, if it hits, it sets up a mix-up that you have to respect, right? Now, just to mention again, this is steppable. Oops. But as you can see, it's steppable, but you've got to be quick on the punish. Because if you just try to, if you see what I mean, if you just tried to aimlessly walk round, which I was doing then, hang on. So if you just aimlessly walk, some of the strings will realign because Tekken, I don't know why, it doesn't make any sense, but there you go. So you got to do, you got to do a fairly quick punish. Hang on. There you go. So if you step it, you got to be fairly quick. However, if you have the hard read, we can do this. If you're quick. There we go. Notice that, you know, that's a full punish. And this is the first time in forever where basically you can actually launch punish every option if he goes for down 3-4. This is basically his fastest one, which is why I've included it. So you do have to commit, you do got to be quick. But see, I was too slow there. But if you know it's coming, you commit to it, you can launch punish it every time. So yeah, you've got to do that basically. It's going to stop doing that. I said this in my other video, and it's so true. Hwoarang is a 50-50 character, right? But the key thing is it's got to be 50-50 for him as well. If he commits to down 3-4 and you get the read, you've got to absolutely make them, you know, pay for it. Don't let them just get away with it. Make them rely on their mids because he doesn't actually have that many launching mids. His down 4-2 doesn't launch crouches. And back 3 is -19 on blocks. So if he commits to using that, then you can launch punish him. they have to rely on just frame skyrocket, and not every Hwoarang. A good Hwoarang main will nail that every time, but a bad Hwoarang main won't be able to do that reliably. And if they don't get the just frame version, a normal skyrocket, that is launch punishable. So basically, you kind of like, they kind of have to rely on down 3-4, right, to kind of get their stuff going, unless they're, you know, unless they're being smart. So yeah, long story short, if they're spamming down 3-4 and you get the read, you've got to make them die for it. And for the first time, you can, basically, due to the nerfs that they've done to it finally. So that's, you know, that's really good. In prior games, you could basically, the best you could get was this, or you had to basically, you had to duck the first hit and then kick counter the second. I wonder if you can still do that, because they've nerfed parries a lot, so you might not even be able to do that anymore. Let's find out. Okay, couldn't do it then. Yeah. So you might be able to, but yeah, it's just so much. It's just so. If you've got the read, just duck. Just kill him. So yeah, just to make you aware of that, because that's their most kind of like, you know, spammy string that they'll go for. So just a few final things. As I sort of mentioned, Hwoarang's game plan is basically steamrolling you. It's, especially when it's in heat, it's basically setting up, going into Flamingo, and then going to string into string into string, and basically bullying you until either you become impatient and you do something stupid, or they commit to a mid and then you can take your turn back. Now, a lot of his sequences have power crushers and their highs. So generally speaking, again, it's just general rule. Forward 4 neutral 2 is really, really good in this matchup in general, because a lot of what he has to do to start with is high. So yeah, or it's a power crush, and either one of those, you'll score the counter hit. So forward 4 neutral is super, super good, and it's a super good tool, just, you know, full stop. But in this matchup in particular, it's really good. So spam the hell out of it. And his while standing pressure, as I mentioned, is really not very good. He gets while standing 4-4, it's not really anything. So yeah, so use that. That will negate a lot of his stuff. As I kind of mentioned, once they commit to doing the Flamingo stuff, you just have to basically be patient. You can sometimes steal your turn with a dick jab, so that's sometimes worth doing. If not, just wait for them to commit to doing something, and then yeah, take your turn back. But that's matchup knowledge, so I recommend you watch my other video to get an idea of what I'm talking about. Now, that's how he likes to play. And because of that, not all, if you find a Hwoarang who has godlike defense, then they're a scary beast, but most of them don't. And that's not to be rude to them, it's because the character they play is designed to like steamroll over people. So as soon as they start, you know, getting pressure, what they will resort to, a lot of them, is this. This is back one. This has a massive built-in sidestep. To the point where, yeah, a lot of throws will whiff. So if you try to, so say you're trying to do a traditional, you know, say you're trying to do a traditional kind of, you know, throw setup like that, what they'll often do, they'll just spam that and then your throw will whiff. So it's a bit like when you play Yoshi, you just have to kind of look out for this. Now it's -14 on block. So again, that's technically your best punish. On whiff, it's awful. Look how long he's standing there. And he doesn't have very good range. So if they, you know, if they whiff this out, launch them. However, notice that because he's off angle, so if you do launch with a hop kick, this is really nerdy, but if you do manage to launch them, go for this combo. Or, you know, don't use this as your screw, because it'll whiff, because this has to be dead center to work. So that's a really nerdy thing, but I thought I'd mention it. But yeah, so if you start to get your plus frames, don't necessarily go for the throw. Wait for them to do that, because they'll do it so often. Low rank ones in particular, because it's a real sort of emergency panic. Ah, get off me. So just bear that in mind. Just treat them a bit like Yoshi. You know, a flash could happen any moment. With them, they'll use back one. But unlike the flash, this is way easier to punish, and it's punishable on block. So even if they do sort of land it, you just have to block it. And yeah, and you'll get some good damage. So that's just to mention that. So I think that's all the stuff I wanted to go through. So just to recap, general, if they're playing Tekken 7 Hwoarang, don't let them get close. Just step, punish. if they're playing Tekken 8 Hwoarang, bait them in with this. If they have got up close, 4-4 neutral 2 is your friend because of the fact that he has a lot of strong highs. Always punish down 3-4 with full crouch down 4-2. Commit to it. It will work if you're fast, but like I say, if you've got the hard read, force them to use their mids, which aren't as, which is they have to quite high commitment or lot behind stances. And generally speaking, yeah, try to step. Although it's hard for King because his side step's rubbish, but you want to step the way that his stomach's facing. So if he's in his regular stance, you want to step this way. If he was in his other stance, you'd step this way. Same with right flamingo, left flamingo. But I explain all that in the other video. So anyway, I hope that's helped you guys. Let me know if you want to see anything else, and I look forward to seeing the next one.